On November 4th, 1979, a group of Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held 52 Americans hostage for over a year. This event shocked the world, and the United States vowed to bring its citizens home. On April 24th, 1980, the United States launched Operation Great Eagle, a daring mission to rescue the hostages. But what went wrong? Why did the helicopters crash? And how did the United States ultimately secure the release of the hostages? Let's find out. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 saw the overthrow of the US-backed Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi and the establishment of a new Islamic republic led by Ayatollah Khomeini. The revolution had been brewing for several years, as the Shah's regime had become increasingly autocratic and oppressive. Tensions between the two countries had been high since then, and the seizure of the U.S. Embassy by Iranian militants had further escalated the situation. The U.S. government responded by breaking off diplomatic relations with Iran and imposing economic sanctions, but it was clear that a military solution would be necessary to rescue the hostages. Planning for the rescue mission, codenamed Operation Eagle Claw, began immediately. The operation was fraught with peril, and failure was not an option. Military officials had to consider the complex political and cultural landscape of Iran, the heavily fortified U.S. Embassy, and the potential for civilian casualties. They also had to coordinate closely with intelligence agencies to gather intel on the hostages and their captors. Despite the challenges, the planners were determined to succeed. They developed a strategy that involved a nighttime helicopter assault on the embassy, which was carried out by the U.S. Army's elite Special Forces unit, Delta Force. The operation was scheduled for April 1980. On the day of the operation, 8 helicopters carrying 160 U.S. soldiers flew from the U.S. base in Saudi Arabia to Iran. The plan called for the helicopters to rendezvous with 4 C-130 transport planes in the Iranian desert, where they would pick up additional supplies and equipment. From there, they would fly to Tehran and storm the U.S. Embassy. But things didn't go according to plan. After refueling in the desert, 6 of the helicopters took off for Tehran, while 2 others remained behind to provide security. As the helicopters approached their target, they were met with heavy smoke and anti-aircraft fire. In the ensuing chaos, one of the helicopters was hit and forced to land in a nearby field. The pilot radioed for help, and a rescue helicopter was dispatched to airlift the crew to safety. But the second helicopter also experienced mechanical problems and was unable to land safely. As it struggled to stay airborne, the rotor blades struck power lines, causing them to catch fire. The helicopter crashed, and 5 of the 8 people on board were killed. Meanwhile, the remaining 4 helicopters continued on to the embassy. But just as they were about to make their final approach, one of the helicopters was enveloped in a massive sandstorm. Visibility dropped to 0, and the pilot lost control of the aircraft. It careened out of the sky and crashed into a transport vehicle below. The impact caused a massive explosion and fire. 8 U.S. soldiers were killed instantly. The remaining 3 helicopters were forced to turn back due to the dust cloud created by the crash. The operation was a disaster. The U.S. government quickly released a statement explaining that the mission had been aborted due to unforeseen circumstances. The public was shocked and saddened by the loss of life and the failure to rescue the hostages. President Carter addressed the nation that evening, announcing that the hostages were still being held captive in Iran and promising that he would not rest until they were returned home. He said, "It is a matter of our national pride, and it is essential that we get our people out." but the world knew the truth. The operation was a failure, and the hostages would remain trapped in Iran for more than a year. But the story doesn't end there. The United States did not abandon the hostages. They would wait another 10 months for their freedom. A total of 444 days later, on January 20th, 1981, the hostages were finally released. The Iranian government had agreed to release them as part of an agreement with the United States, brokered by Algeria. The terms of the agreement were kept secret, but it is believed that the United States paid a ransom of nearly $8 million to the Iranian government in exchange for the release of the hostages. The hostages were flown back to the United States, where they were reunited with their families. The ordeal had taken a heavy toll on them, and many suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and other psychological problems. So why did the helicopters crash? The crash of the two helicopters was due to a combination of factors. The first helicopter experienced mechanical problems, which caused it to lose power and crash. The second helicopter's rotor blades struck power lines, causing them to catch fire and crash. These accidents were investigated and steps were taken to prevent them from happening again. The United States learned valuable lessons from the operation. In hindsight, it is easy to see what went wrong. The operation was too ambitious and risky, and the United States was not prepared for the level of resistance it encountered. The U.S. military was caught off guard by the strength and determination of the Iranian people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to defend their country. Additionally, the United States underestimated the Iranian government's willingness to use the hostages as pawns in a larger political game. The Iranian government was able to use the hostages as leverage to gain international support and to negotiate with the United States. This prolonged the crisis and made it more difficult to rescue the hostages. Despite these setbacks, the United States remained committed to bringing the hostages home. The Carter administration worked tirelessly to secure their release through diplomatic channels, while also planning and preparing for a possible rescue mission. The operation was eventually successful, but not without great cost. The failed rescue attempt in April 1980 was a turning point in the hostage crisis. It demonstrated the dangers and complexities of attempting a rescue mission and highlighted the need for careful planning and preparation. The United States would not attempt another rescue mission, instead focusing on securing the release of the hostages through diplomatic means. The failed rescue mission was a major embarrassment for the United States and a source of national trauma. It raised questions about the country's ability to protect its citizens abroad and handle international crises. The Carter administration was heavily criticized for the botched operation and the impact on the hostages. The media played a major role in shaping public opinion on the hostage crisis and the failed rescue mission. The daily updates on the hostages' well-being and the dramatic events surrounding the crisis captivated the nation. The media also played a role in shaping the public's perception of the Carter administration and the hostage crisis itself. The legacy of the Iran hostage crisis and the failed rescue mission continues to be felt today. The crisis had a profound impact on the foreign policy of the United States and the relationship between the two countries. The hostage crisis was a pivotal moment in the Cold War and had significant implications for the balance of power in the Middle East. The crisis also had a lasting impact on the American psyche and served as a reminder of the country's vulnerability to terrorism and hostage-taking. The memory of the fallen soldiers is honored and remembered by their families and the nation. Their sacrifice serves as a reminder of the ultimate price that can be paid in the pursuit of freedom and democracy. The Iran hostage crisis and the failed rescue mission are a cautionary tale of the complexities and risks of international diplomacy and military operations. The crisis had far-reaching implications for the United States and the world, and its legacy continues to be felt today. The story of the hostages and the soldiers who attempted to rescue them is a testament to the human spirit and the courage that can be found in the face of adversity. The failed rescue mission serves as a reminder of the importance of careful planning and preparation in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a comment. If you have any suggestions for future videos, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.